Hello, everyone. I'm James Milan. Welcome to this town hall update, and it is with our town manager. Surprise! Adam Chapdelaine joins me. How are you, Adam?
Doing well. How are you, James?
Very, very well, thanks. Um, got a few things to talk about today, of course. We're going to get to talking about the upcoming town election, which will be on April 2nd. We're going to hear a little bit more about that from you. And then also we want to find out about COVID-19 testings. People thought they'd get away without hearing that word on this update. No, not
No,
not
not
a
yet.
chance. But let's start actually with a 750, excuse me, $750,000 grant that Arlington was awarded, or $750,000 that Arlington was awarded for a mouthful of a project called the Mystic and Charles Regional Coastal Flood Interventions Project. I have a sense of what that might be about, but if you wouldn't mind, just explain what is the funding for and how did we get it?
Absolutely. So I think this is a pretty exciting project. I'll start by telling you where we got the money from, and that is a federal earmark in the federal budget from Congresswoman Clark. She put out a call for community ideas that could be qualify for an earmark just a couple of weeks ago. And due to the great work of the Mystic River Watershed Association and our own Planning and Community Development Department, we pitched this idea of putting in an earmark to support the Resilient Mystic or the Resilient Mystic Collaborative to support Arlington, Belmont, Boston, Cambridge, Chelsea, Everett, Malden, Medford, Revere, and Watertown in coming together to plan for projected flooding in the years to come within the Mystic River and Charles River watersheds. So Arlington will be the fiscal agent. Jenny Raitt and her team stepped up in being willing to be the host community for this grant. And what this $750,000 will enable is planning for how we can reduce flooding risk in the future, primarily by raising the Amelia Earhart Dam, which sits at the mouth of the Mystic River where it enters Boston Harbor. So it's exciting, it's timely. Climate change is real, right? We know that. And we also know that floodwaters don't really give a darn about municipal borders. So, you know, dealing with climate issues, especially resilience on a town by town or city by city basis, makes no sense. So coming together as part of this multi-jurisdictional initiative with Arlington leading the way is exciting. And we're super grateful to the Congresswoman for, literally bringing home the bacon on this one.
Impressive list of towns that are going to be involved and affected there. That is great. All right, I had mentioned town elections. They are coming up on April 2nd. Tell us what residents should know.
Absolutely, yeah, it's coming up right around the corner. So obviously, I never get into the details of the races of the elections, but the conduct of the elections is something that somewhat falls in my bailiwick. So I think I'd point out a few things. I think many residents are likely aware from the mailings that went out about precinct changes that were made earlier this year that are impacting this election. You likely did receive that mailer, but if you didn't, please go to the town website, arlingtonma.gov/elections, and you'll be able to look into whether or not your precinct has changed and where that might mean that you're voting. So you can do that. Also, the Council on Aging is offering rides to the polls. So if you need a ride to the poll, if you're a senior, you can call 781-316-3403 and schedule a ride. And if you're going to do that, try to do it before March 31st so they can get you scheduled and get you to the polls on April 2nd.
Okay, and I might just add that, of course, ACMi is on the election as well, and there's only one contested race at the moment. That's for town moderator. We have a debate for that race that is running both on our channels and available on our website, as well as candidate profiles. We offered all the candidates for town-wide office the opportunity to present up to 5 minutes of their story for voters. You can find all of that our own acmi.tv/elections. So plenty of opportunities to kind of get up to speed around elections before the 2nd, but don't forget, it's coming up fast. And moving on, Health Department is continuing to offer COVID-19 testing. as we have spoken about for some time now. So these tests are both antigen and molecular. So can you tell us just first of all, what's the difference between the two, and then what is how is it that residents can get them?
Absolutely. So antigen tests, those are the rapid tests that we're probably all somewhat familiar with now. Well, I don't want to pretend to be a scientist to describe the science of it, but my understanding is the antigen tests does what is probably a more likely superficial testing of the presence of the virus in your body or in your nasal passage. And a molecular test is what you've probably also heard referred to as a PCR test. And that actually tracks the presence of the DNA of the virus in the sample that's taken from you. So it's a deeper test that's pretty more convincing of a result if you have it. But we are offering both every Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Walk in for antigen testing and the molecular testing by appointment. For the molecular tests, it is a $50 fee. And you probably want to get that prior to a medical procedure or travel. That's often when you're required to have the molecular test or the PCR test. But we're continuing to provide this. We continue all to hope that the pandemic is waning, but the virus is still out there in the community. It's not spreading nearly as widely as it was just 2 months ago, but it is still there. There are still measures in place that require testing for certain activities. And some people just want the assurance of knowing whether or not they had it after travel or some activity they engaged in. So we're still offering this in the town, and there is more of it, information available at arlingtonma.gov/COVID-19.
Thanks for that. I actually didn't realize that molecular meant, what we have been referring to as PCR. So it's a great clarification, and folks should know that they're readily available right here in town, and you don't have to work as hard, perhaps, to get to them as we have at various points in the past. Okay, anything that we have not yet mentioned? Anything else residents should know?
I think the only thing I'd say to residents watching that if they haven't done so, to please try to take the annual Envision Arlington survey. These surveys always help us plan for future efforts in town and various initiatives or how we might be able to change our approach to certain things. This year, the topics are focused on community engagement, the pandemic, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if you can take an opportunity to go to the town website, find access to that survey and help us and help the town plan for the future, we'd greatly appreciate it.
A recurrent theme for these updates and other conversations I've had with you over the years is that one of those things you just mentioned, community engagement, and the fact that Arlington is a community in which people really want to know what's going on and want their own voices heard. This survey is just another mechanism to make sure that that happens. So let's hope that people do take advantage. When does the survey close?
The deadline is April 1st, so it's coming right up.
All right, so people need to get on that as well.
Yeah.
All right, well, if that is it for you, we will thank you as always for joining us. I've been speaking, of course, with Adam Chapdelaine, our town manager, for this town hall update. I am James Milan. We appreciate Adam's time. He always manages to carve out a little for us, and we appreciate that. And we appreciate your time as well. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.